Last week, we discussed 14 amazing, forgotten Disney action figure lines. But there were many that I didn't discuss, and I wanted to continue this topic on for this week's episode. So we're going to look at some older and some more recent forgotten Disney action figure lines. So sit back, relax, as we go through 11 awesome Disney action figures and toys. Welcome back, guys. It's Thomas, and if you joined us last week, we went over 14 different Disney action figure lines. I think most of those are kind of widely forgotten. Probably the most memorable are the Toy Story figures, of course, because they're still pretty much going strong today. But we left a lot off that list. I like to keep my videos between 10 and 15 minutes long, so for the sake of time, I decided to break it up into two different videos. So with that being said, let's get into this list, starting with number 11. At number 11, we have Tron by Tomy. This was made in 1982. Now, this wasn't a wide or extensive action figure line. It came with 4 different figures. They kind of looked like they could fit in with Star Wars, but they had a really cool look. They all had translucent plastic, and they came with 2 vehicles, 2 light cycles. So if you were a fan of the movie, you can recreate some of those scenes. And some of the characters that you got were Sark, Warrior, and then you got the 2 main heroes, Flynn, and of course, Tron. And we know Hasbro tried to revamp this line with a Kickstarter. It failed miserably, so we probably would have gotten some modern day versions of these figures. Unfortunately, it didn't come to pass. Diamond Select did a great line of Tron figures, so those are still readily available. They might be going up in price since there hasn't been much Tron lately, but at least there's options. On last week's episode, we talked about Mattel's Aladdin line. Some awesome action figures in there, but there was a couple of things I forgot to talk about, so we're going to squeeze it in now. At number 10, we do have the Mattel Aladdin figures, mostly from the sequels and the animated series. Now, we did get some of the same characters, however, this time in different outfits. You have Aladdin and Jasmine. But then we did get 3 new villains. Fishom, I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it. Kind of looks like a genie character. Captain Merc, and probably one of my favorite is voiced by Jason Alexander, George from Seinfeld. We got an action figure for Abysmal. Now, this line did come with a playset, the sailing ship. I thought that one was pretty cool, but the 2 that I forgot to mention actually came out for the original movie, and you had the final battle scene. This came with a really cool giant statue of Jafar's staff. It was awesome, and probably the one that I should have remembered was the Cave of Wonders. I would have loved to have that playset, so missed it last week. We got it in this week. Continuing with Mattel, in 1995, they produced a line of figures for the Hunchback of Notre Dame. This is one of my favorite Disney animated movies. It's very dark, but the animation is fantastic, and we did get some awesome action figures for it. We did get Quasimodo, the 3 gargoyles, one of which is also voiced by Jason Alexander. Esmeralda came with her goat Jolly, and we did get Captain Phoebus. We had multiple releases of him. One came with his horse Achilles, and of course the evil villain Frollo. And one of my favorite Disney characters of all time actually got an action figure release, and that is the Circus Master Clopin. I love this character. I don't know why. I think just because he's kind of leading the whole topsy-turvy song number, but he even comes with his hand puppet. Now, this line actually did come with a playset, and it was the Notre Dame playset, and I don't think there was many playsets of churches, so here's one from Disney, and it had some pretty cool features, some trapdoors, had that stained glass design, and of course, it's Quasimodo. It has to have the ringing bell. So pretty cool. Not one I had in my collection, but it was really fun to go back and find that this one exists. In 1998, Mattel also produced a line of action figures for Mulan. Of course, you got the main hero, Mulan. You got her in different outfits in her dress. You got her in her battle attire. She did come with Mushu. Then you do get the love interest, Li Shang. And then probably the 3 funniest characters of the movie, Chanpo and Yao and Ling. They did do some deluxe sets with Mulan and Shang coming with horses, but my favorite from this line goes to the villain, and that is Shan Yu. They didn't go too deep in this line. This is definitely one I feel like because there was such a huge battle in the movie, they probably could have added some more battle pieces or vehicles, but we still got some figures, no play sets, and you could probably fudge some of your Happy Meal toys in with this as well. Thinkway held the license for Toy Story action figures, but Mattel took over the license for Bug's Life, and there was some really cool stuff made for this movie. On the hero side, you get Flick Ada, Francis, Stick, Tuck and Roll, and of the evil grasshoppers you get Molt and Hopper. Now, two really awesome vehicles that came with the Bugs Life line was the Battle Bird. It's the one that they recreate in the movie. And then there was the Circus Battle Wagon, since a lot of those bugs were part of the Flea Circus or whatever it was called. But the playset that came with these Bugs Life action figures was super cool. It was this giant anthill. It opened up. It lit up on the inside, it had catapults, it launched things, and one of my favorite pieces was the telescope, the one that Flick actually makes in the movie. They made it an accessory for this playset, so really cool line. And lastly, from Mattel, it seemed like they owned the market on Disney figures for quite some time. In 2000, they made figures for Buzz Lightyear Star Command, the animated series, inspired by Toy Story 2. You got different variations of Buzz, which is to be expected since he's the main character. XR was that short little robot with treads. I always thought he was super cool. The other companion, Booster. And then some other villains like Warp Dark Matter, Power Zap, and this is probably the first time that we've gotten an actual Zurg action figure. There was a vehicle called the Space Cycle for Buzz, but I think the one glaring missing piece in the action figure line was Mira Nova, the one female character. At the time, the only way to get her was within a Happy Meal, so you could put her in the collection, but it would have been nice if she was added as well. Number 5 is a Disney Store exclusive going from 1999 to 2000, and this was the Disney Adventurers series. I love these action figures. I didn't have them, but my sister was just born, so she had all of them, and it was only a set of 5. You had Hercules, Tarzan, Aladdin, and then you had Peter Pan and Captain Hook. Now these had an abstract design. They had these really chunky hands and feet, but they were made that way because they had to fit their weapons, and their weapons had batteries in them because they all lit up. And I thought they were super fun. I remember her playing with these and even me being a little jealous of them at the time, but I wish they would have went a little deeper on this line, especially with the villains. Now, Disney's first attempt to do a fully computer animated movie was for Chicken Little. And in 2005, Disney Store released some exclusives. Not a lot of figures, but most of the main characters. Of course, you got Chicken Little, Abby Mallard, or Ugly Duckling. You got the Alien 2-pack, which if you haven't seen the movie, you're probably wondering, what do aliens have to do with Chicken Little? Go watch the movie. But my favorite of the line was Fish Out of Water. He's just this fish that wears this underwater helmet, and he's super funny throughout the movie. One figure I would have loved to see in this line was the big pig or runt of the litter. I think he was really awesome in the movie. I would have liked to see an action figure made of him. Another movie that I would highly recommend you go and watch if you haven't seen is Meet the Robinsons. And in 2007, Disney Store released some exclusives of some of the main characters. We got the main character Lewis, and then we did get Wilbur, who comes with the dog and the dancing frogs. We got Carl the Robot, and then my favorite would be Bowler Hat Guy, the villain of the movie. So not a lot of figures, but if you haven't seen the movie, definitely go check it out. Now this next one is a little more recent, so if you're an adult collector, you might have overlooked these, but kids today probably did get a chance to play with these. And these are the Disney Store exclusive Toy Box collection from 2017. Now if you don't know the story behind these, there was actually a video game called Disney Infinity, and it was a mix between Minecraft and Skylanders, but then you had to get these figurines to activate the play sets or the different areas and scenes you'd play in. And you really wouldn't play with these figures. They weren't posable. You just used them for the base of the game. Their designs were awesome. When the video game failed, then you had all these cool designs. I think it was a genius idea that Disney put these into an action figure line. The idea behind the toy box is that as kids, you put whatever toys you have in the toy box. So there's a mix of Marvel, Star Wars, Pixar, Disney, all together. And these were actually some pretty good articulated figures too. There's some that I might want to go hunt down myself, but the toy box collection's pretty awesome, and you can get characters from all the different franchises that Disney owns now. Number 1 probably goes to the last true boy franchise that I think Disney was able to successfully launch before purchasing Lucasfilm and Marvel, and that goes to Pirates of the Caribbean. Now, a company that I've never heard of, Zizzle, made a whole bunch of action figures starting from Dead Man's Chest to At World's End in 2006 and beyond, and they went super deep in this line. Of course, you got the main characters. From the hero side, you got Jack, Will, Elizabeth, Gibbs, and then you got a bunch of the villains, Barbossa, Davy Jones. There was a whole bunch of supporting pirate characters from all the different teams. So you had all of Davy Jones' crew, you had some of Jack's crew, Barbossa's crew, and then you also had all the pirates from Singapore. So they went super hard on this line, but they did some amazing play sets and vehicles. The Flying Dutchman deck looks super cool. You can put the figures on and have them duel. There was a play set for the Singapore scene. One of my favorite scenes from Dead Man's Chest was when Jack was spinning on that giant wheel. There was a play set for that with the Isla Crucis play set. But probably the mother of all centerpieces of this toy line was the Black Pearl. Trapdoors, launching catapults. It had extendable decks that you can make the playset bigger. But one of my favorite things about this was the light up cannons. I would have loved this if I was a kid and I had this in my collection. It was just such a cool pirate ship. I'll sneak this in here for the sake of time, but they also did a kid-friendly line, or a kid-friendlier line, that was called the Swashbucklers. And they did all of your favorite Pirates of the Caribbean characters in more of this abstract, cartoonish design. If you haven't heard of the Swashbucklers line, go check that one out too. All right, guys, that does it for this list of 11 more awesome Disney action figures. At this point, I'm gonna save any more Disney toys for a future video. Which ones would you like to see added? I think I got most covered between the 14 from last week and the 11 from this week. But like always, I'm sure I missed one. So let me know down in the comments which are your favorites. Also, let me know, what are your favorite Disney characters? Mine are Genie, Gaston, and Clopin, as we mentioned in this episode. So hope everyone enjoyed. If you did, hit like and subscribe. And until the next episode, we'll catch you next time.